What is up, everybody? This is Alex from IHE. Tonight's the night. And today I'm going to talk about Dexter Resurrection. The full season is finished, so I will be talking spoilers. You have been warned. Top level thoughts? This was kind of great. Nearly every major issue I had with New Blood, the snowy season, is kind of encapsulated by this poster. It couldn't get the tone right. Like, this sucks. I'm sorry. I know it has its fans. And I guess I'll start there, actually. One of my big hang-ups of New Blood is how they couldn't make the setting work. I'd underappreciated just how important I thought Miami was to making the whole premise come together. Particularly that kind of dreamy tone it has, that sunny location, the music usage. Just the perfect setting for a show as simultaneously kind of goofy and serious. It rides a very fine line of being goofy, silly, self-aware, lots of funny narration from Michael C. Hall. They just didn't feel like it was there in New Blood. Obviously the character's in like a really dark point at the start of the story in New Blood, and is playing with the typical tropes of, I'm the protagonist of a thing, and I'm known for doing a certain thing, but I've got to stop doing that thing for whatever reason. You know, Spider-Man 2. But unlike a Spider-Man 2 where the payoffs you get from the character for getting stuck in a rut actually comes together, this second attempt at an ending just didn't feel satisfying. They didn't know what to do with Harrison, Dexter's son. The setting was just so restrictive, even though if it made sense that that's where you might go to hide out. So we moved to Dexter Resurrection, which also isn't set in Miami. It's New York this time, but they managed to find that tone again. They figured out how to do it without relying too much on member-berry, obnoxious fan service. Just from these pictures, you're seeing the wild cast it has. Like, they spent a lot of money on this, but none of that would mean anything if the story didn't work. She's pretty. And in the previous video I made where I was talking about the first two episodes when they first came out, I was kind of explaining how I love the idea of this billionaire serial killer fanboy for how ridiculous and over the top it is. But it genuinely feels like a fresh angle for this show that at this point has done, you got 8 seasons of the original show, plus New Blood, plus a prequel show. So that's 10 seasons, not counting this one, of every single trope and type of character you can imagine. Antagonists, sibling reveals, parent things, revenge missions, all of it. It's all been done. But the billionaire angle is actually a fresh take that makes it feel kind of prescient and modern in a way that doesn't feel annoying. Just for fun, I looked up how many billionaires there were in 2006 when Dexter originally began. So 793 of them. Still a lot, still too many. If we fast forward to 2025, there are now 3,028 billionaires, which is obscene. So Leon Prater, which is Peter Dinklage's character, being the main antagonist, not only has that commentary in there, but gives a good enough excuse for the serial killer Avengers to come together. Feels suitably warped and tongue-in-cheek enough to work, which I think partially is because of the quality of the actors they cast for these roles, of the kind of cameo serial killers. So we have this collection of excellent character actors that sell this goofy premise, and each have about an episode dedicated to them, and will have their own reveals or twists and turns. All of the lamest, most predictable things you would imagine that an idea like this, what direction it would go, they managed to avoid a bunch of those pitfalls, because I was really concerned about what they were going to do with Kristen Ritter, because we've seen Dexter have these flings with all these different characters, we've seen all the different types and ways that can go, but at this point I just kind of want to see Dexter be Dexter and not be held back by this relationship drama and more focus on the father-son stuff, which is one of the main themes of the show. Like from the first season, that's been an important through line. His internal monologue is, for the most part, through Harry Morgan appearing as like a ghost, who is that father figure who gave him his code, which is so important to his character and the way he conducts himself. So it's almost like a Metal Gear or something. You got all the Mega Man villains lined up, with the supervillain being the overarching reason that everything's happening. All 4 of these characters are quite distinct. Neil Patrick Harris is your slimy dude who's obsessed with tattoos, and that's what he collects and carves off people. He's the first one to be taken out if you don't count the Uber driver serial killer that Dexter first deal with to impersonate and get his seat at the serial killer dinner party. I don't know how you say this dude's name. David Dasmalkian has a really fun reveal, and even though it's like a tropey reveal, I did not see the twin stuff coming at all. It gave that episode a great cliffhanger. And this dude's an underrated actor, and he was probably my favorite of the other serial killers. His whole gimmick being that he's got a huge ego to him, which Dexter exploits. And Eric Stone Street does a great job of being the family man who's like secretly a psychopath. He's almost like the most vicious one, and that juxtaposition of how he carries himself and communicates with people is just so creepy and off-putting. And he's the only one that actually gets away. I do quite like that one of them gets away, with that pretty funny gag about him not knowing that Hamilton has rap in it. And all of that would be kind of fun on its own. But like the best of Dexter, it is all about him, obviously. It's his show. And when the show is at its best, the villainous characters like a Trinity or Jimmy Schmitz are used to give Dexter an arc, to teach him a lesson, to visualize or explore something that the character's struggling with, and put him through some kind of conflict. And that's part of what made the Trinity Killer season so compelling and a fan favorite season, is him getting close to another serial killer who he believes kind of has his shit together and wants to learn from him how to have a family and maintain what he's finding so difficult to balance, with the lesson obviously being learned that everything wasn't quite so squeaky clean as it seemed on the surface, and he paid the consequence of losing Rita as a result. It's kind of like the Trinity season on crack, with just the comical amount of serial killers all like chilling together. But I like how it feels like he learned from the whole Trinity situation and was like, don't play with your food. I'm just going to kill these guys. I'm just going to deal with them as soon as possible. I'm not playing around, with the ultimate end goal of getting to Dinklage's character. It's quite a fun mystery of how you get to the whole dinner party stuff. Not only with Michael C. Hall developing this relationship with Blessing, who's a rideshare driver who kind of gets Dexter into the job and into the position to deal with the rideshare serial killer, but it jumps off from there with Uma Thurman operating as Liam Prater's lackey, and she has her own fun personality that she brings to it. Shout out to her hair and costume design, really fun stuff, and quite a satisfying character. They even give her a little mini arc where she's kind of being manipulated and used by Peter Dinklage, because her mum is sick and he's a billionaire, so he can just pay for everything and make her do whatever he needs. And she's like a highly trained ex-military type character. I did just mention Blessing, but to go back to him, I think he might be one of my favorite new characters. He might be like an all-timer in the show. If I was doing like a tier list, I think I'd put him near the top. I have a horrible feeling that if this gets renewed and keeps going, that they're going to do something bad to this guy, which I just won't be able to handle. Again, with the way it loops back into Dexter's arc and growth as a character, they are echoes of each other. He's a father. It's revealed that he was like a child soldier and had to kill someone, which he does drop on Dexter quite soon after meeting him, which does come up in the writing because Dexter accidentally reveals it to his daughter, and then she's like, "What? You barely know him. Why did he reveal this?" I don't know. Dudes just be like that sometimes. Just trauma dump on someone you've just met. He's a warm presence. Love his accent. Love the whole family dynamic. Really want to see more of this dude. I also mentioned Harry Morgan. Very glad to have James Remar back. He was definitely missing from Old Blood. He has some great moments. Some of the funniest stuff is Dexter and Harry in these ghost scenes talking to each other. And even that fan service stuff with these old characters coming back, like seeing Trinity in the first episode, or Dokes. The one you get in the final episode of Brian Moser coming back, I thought was an unexpected, cool twist, with them having a conversation over the very table that he was killed on in the first season. There were a couple of characters that were done dirty in Old Blood, and they're right next to each other here. You got Batista and Harrison. It felt so wrong in New Blood that the main person investigating Dexter was like his girlfriend and someone we don't really know or care about, when there is all this history and build-up that just seemed to be thrown to the side for this conclusion that didn't feel satisfying. So to have Batista be such a big part of the season just makes sense, playing on those tropes of the obsessed cop who can't let go of the one that got away, which I don't know, I'd be in the same place probably if I was him. And he meets a tragic end mirroring that of Dokes. I think he even says a similar line towards the end. I did like the detail of they were building him up in a way where he had to be dealt with. He couldn't stay around without ending the whole story and shutting Dexter away for good. But to have Dexter kill him would be a bit too much. They have to be careful with what they make him do to cross him over into being unlikable or too much of an anti-hero. As I said, he does have this code of ethics, this way of carrying himself. Dexter wouldn't want to kill Batista. So in that moment of him freeing him and Dinklage being the one to kill him, that made sense to me. And it felt like a good payoff. That then also gives Dexter the clear to take out Prater following his rules and everything. Every scene, especially with Michael C. Hall and Peter Dinklage interacting, bouncing off each other, is great. It's the advantage of casting all these well-known expensive actors is that they are great at what they do. Absolutely elevates what otherwise could be too stupid to sell. They make it work. I was watching some episodes from season 5 the other day, and why Michael C. Hall is consistently good throughout the whole thing. When he has to like bounce off young Aster and Cody in the old show, it's like kind of tough to sit through because those kids are just not good. I actually really like what they did with Harrison this season, because I felt like they really dropped the ball in New Blood with making him like an interesting character, or just knowing what to do with him. Because obviously the expectation is, oh, he's like the Robin to the Batman type dynamic. Damn. But I quite like the way these different plot threads were intertwined with each other, with Harrison killing this asshole dude that was going to SA someone, which then feeds into the new detective characters, which then feeds into Batista, which feeds into this B-plot love interest with this Elsa Rivera woman, and Harrison having all these problems with their landlord, which then Dexter gets involved, gets the landlord on the table, which then Batista tracks him with AirPods and nearly gets him. So many good set pieces and ideas. Kind of general plotting to the 10 episodes. I will say this character didn't really feel like she had any sort of payoff. She's just kind of forgotten, and Harrison moves on to this Gigi character who I didn't really love. She's only in the latter half of the show, and again, doesn't really feel like there's much of a payoff to her outside of just kind of plotting mechanical reasons. But who knows what kind of threads they'll pull on if they do decide to do more of this, which I'd be happy if they didn't, to be honest. This feels like the best ending of the show they possibly could have had. I really liked that line that Dexter has towards the end. I'm Dexter Morgan, I'm exactly who I need to be, exactly who you want me to be. One of the most extreme fourth wall breaks they've ever done. But that to me just felt like a confidence, like, yeah, I think we figured out how to do this again. Because while I was thinking about, like, you just stole this billionaire's, you just killed like a billionaire who like funds everything in the city, stole his super yacht. Then with him saying that line just felt like such a wink wink, nudge nudge, playful tone that made me kind of fall for the show to begin with. I feel like this will be a fun one to revisit, like the first handful of seasons are. I wasn't fully sold on Detective Wallace at first, again playing with the kind of familiar tropes of the cold workaholic detective always listens to the same song. But as it went on, I kind of liked her more and more, especially the payoff with that song in the last episode, showing a bit of a different side to her. If your song comes on, you gotta dance, you gotta boogie. I feel like she's one of the bigger threads as far as something to expand on and continue in other seasons. Because I was kind of convinced that they were gonna leave it more open, because Paramount Plus this is on. They want to rinse this for what it's worth. They want to probably make a bunch of seasons of this because I think it's their biggest show ever. So yeah, I figured that it was gonna end in a place where Leon Prater was gonna almost like bankroll Dexter or something like that. Should have been annoying and incomplete. But they did wrap up a lot of the threads. Because the other one, going back to Detective Wallace, her one that got away type case that she's obsessed with is the New York Ripper, who I thought was going to be saved for another season or something. I mean, still might be, but it's revealed in that last episode that it's just like some random dude. All these theories were flying around. Is Blessing the New York Ripper? Is Gigi the New York Ripper? Is the Ninja Cat from Cats and Dogs 2001 the New York Ripper? Is Harrison the New York Ripper? And just kind of subverts itself in a way I don't think anyone expected. And I didn't realize this guy was such a goth. That's fire. Bruh. There were a couple of things that I didn't love about this, as far as like presentation or creative choices. The biggest one to me is I don't like the needle drops. In watching the original show, the only time they would do needle drops are like playful Miami music that was juxtaposed against the brutal violence of like cutting bodies up and throwing them into the ocean while the mambo Latin American dance stuff will start playing, and even then it looks like it's made for the show. So I feel like they could have taken that creative energy and not literally done the same thing again, because it wouldn't fit in the same way. It's a different setting. New York has a different vibe to it, obviously. And I think the more they use the like Daniel Licht themes and music is for the better. That was a big ding I had against New Blood. It's so important to the atmosphere and feeling. So that'd be one of my main notes, is to reuse some of those themes, those leitmotifs, because they are so good and are a big reason why the show feels the way it does. I also feel like we need a different intro. They do this kind of montage, bunch of flashes of scenes from the episode you're about to watch, which is okay, but kind of like what they did for the prequel show where they remade the intro. I feel like that would be fun to do like a New York version of it, because while you might be saying, oh, it's just an intro, who cares? It tonally really expresses what the vibe of the show is like, the cleverness of having this expressive imagery while this playful music is playing, with this underlying darkness. It's like he's cutting into an egg, but it all looks vicious and violent. Close-ups of his mouth chewing, and so I could do with that. But otherwise, I really don't have a lot of issues with this, because I feel like they nailed the most important thing, which to me is that tone. I'm finding it funny, I'm finding it charming, characters are likable, it's tense, unpredictable, they sell the sillier stuff, and I'm kind of shocked they managed to pull this together and make it work, because it feels like it's been so long since we've had an excellent season of Dexter. I think I've rambled on enough. I'd probably add this season to my rotation, season 1 to 4, and then this. Other Dexter fans, let me know what you think. How did this season come together for you? Is history going to be kind to it? What's it going to be like to rewatch? I'd happily rewatch this. Dexter's back, baby. See you on the next vid. Bye.